Service department. Wow. I want to say it was probably about 10 years ago that I put in my first service BDC. And we put it in um, to schedule recalls because the recalls had gotten so massive. And we were setting appointments. And then we decided that we should call all of the recalls that were left out there. Then we were talking about maybe parts. And then we were talking about reminding people of their free oil changes. And then we were looking at inactive customers. And we would start getting more people in. And it really didn't go to the bottom line. And we never changed our processes on the service drive. We never really changed our processes with the feedback from the technician. You know, the MPI was coming into play, but it really wasn't something that was being executed. And we were always talking about the sales to service handoff. And um, about 3 years ago, you started hearing the word retention coming up more and more and more. And then our race to the bottom got even more heated up than what it had been in the past. New car margins in the past 5 years have gone down. Um, Used cars is a race to the bottom, and all at the same time, the gross profit margin in service and parts is maintained to 46 to 47 percentile, and yet we're still running 60 to 70% of the people out after 3 years when their warranty's over, and we're sending them to the independents, to the other shops. And so I started working on that. You know, there's a number of known names out there, Jeff Cohen, Chris Collins, a couple of really good names out there that have worked in this area here. And I studied all of their information as well as the experience that I had by being on the job in dealerships, not only setting the appointments in the BDC, but then working out on the service drive and working with the people and seeing the caliber of the people. And, you know, a service advisor writes more gross profit than anybody else in the store. And we're constantly, we know we should be training our salespeople on an ongoing basis. I remember my first job as a manager, and my dad gave me a list, and he says, I want you to have a sales meeting every morning for about 10 minutes. And he says, here's a list of the topics that I want you to cover for the 25 working days that you have. And I said, well, great, that's fine for the first month. What do you want me to do when the month's over? And his answer was, start over. But the point was, every single morning we were doing some sort of training, some sort of refresher. And then we always had weekly classes with training. We always were sending people off to get training. But yet, what do we do with the service advisors? The ones that write the most gross profit than anybody else in the dealership? There's statistics that say the chances of people buying from you as a repeat customer goes up 75% if they're having their service work done in your particular store. And yet we do very little to prepare that service advisor how to handle those people. The national average on sales to service handoff is 41%. And yet, even if we do get a sales to service handoff, it's very, very poor. Customers want to schedule work online. Is that part of your sales to service handoff? We do an awful lot of texting right now. Why don't we opt people in for texting as part of the delivery? Go ahead and schedule that first visit. Bingo! Have them get a text instantly that they got a confirmation that there is a service appointment scheduled for them. Let's get the sales game coordinated and organized with the service game. Let's educate the salespeople as to the importance of having these people come back. Customer value for life. CFVL. Customer value for life, CVFL, customer value for life. Last number I heard, it was about $10,500. Now we're going to pick up about 2,000 of it when we sell a car, maybe 1,500, maybe 2,500, whatever the number is in your particular area, depending upon how much back end money that you're making. But the rest of the money is going to come 1 year later, 2 years later, 3 years later, 4 years later, 5 years later. And how much money are you investing in your people, in your processes, in your technology, to capture those people and keep them coming back? The future of a dealership today is in the service department. I have two customers that I refer to quite often. One's in the southeast, and they got a 90% service absorption. One's in the northwest, and they got a 31% service absorption. Which dealer do you think sleeps better at night? Which dealer do you think has more profit? Which dealership do you think has more toys? It's the one at the 90%. Now, also included in this packet is a service retention sheet. And what it is, you just type in the amount of customers that you have. Okay, let's say over the past 5 years, you've been selling 100 cars a month. So that's 120 cars a year. So that would be 6,000 customers. So plug that in. What, to the best of your knowledge, is your service retention? Is it 30%, 40%? Plug that number in. What's your average RO? Average RO nationally is $268. How much is yours? Is it 255? Is it 245? Is it 275? Plug that in. Now down at the bottom, you can go down there, and if I was to increase my service retention by 5 points, how much would I make? If I was to raise my average RO by $10, how much would I make? Run these numbers. If you think training is costly, if you think the information that I'm going to share with you is costly, how costly is it to ignore it? So service retention, service loyalty. One of the books I read, I'll share it with you. A Toyota dealer shared it with me because he's done a lot of speaking from him. It's a guy that owns 7 of the top 10 restaurants in New York. And he talks about service and he talks about loyalty. And he says service is mechanical. Those are the steps that you go through. But loyalty is emotion. It's when you convert emotions into there. We have a service experience today when people bring their cars in. But do we have an emotional wow when they bring the car in that we far exceeded everything that they have? So there's an awful lot that we can do today to help raise your service retention, your service profits, which are going to directly impact your dealership profits. And just think of how well you'd sleep at night if your service absorption is 90%.